All right. All right. Here we go. Well, good evening, everyone. And yes, this is recorded. Welcome and thank you so much for being here tonight. The fact that you're here tells me that you are a person who's already accomplished so much, but you always want more. I know that because that is me. I always seek to know more and become more. And I do that. And as I'm doing that, it's because there is so much to know. And I know that there is so much that I'd like to share with you. But you're here for a reason. And you have gotten this far because you feel like there is so much untapped potential still within you, already within you. And that potential wants to express itself. It wants to come out. Maybe you have tried a few things in the past and perhaps they haven't worked out yet. You may have called that in the past a failure, but now we know that it's truly feedback. And feedback is what what guides you to get you on your path, the path that is meant for you. And wherever you are on your journey is exactly where you are supposed to be right now. But then there are always those days, and I've been there myself, where when we look in the mirror, we wonder and we are curious about certain things. One of those things is we wonder, is that all there is? Are there any answers? And you find yourself in a place of darkness. Now, I've been there. And what it usually is that you find yourself in this dark, dark place, and you find that you're completely alone, lost, bewildered, and you have no way out of this. And as you're standing there, stress fills you and anxiety. And of course, the more anxious you become, the darker it feels. And at a certain point, it's as if there's someone whispering your name and you don't know if you're making this up. Is it internal? Is it external? And then it's as if someone is taking you by the hand, leading you through the darkness, the problem, to the other side, the solution. And you find the wall with the light switch and you turn on the light. The darkness, when we find ourselves in this darkness, what I'm trying to say with that is that when we're in this darkness, we have no clarity. We don't know what we don't know. We can't see our shadows. We cannot see our blind spots, and we cannot see our triggers, the things that trigger us, that keep us in our reactive state instead of taking us to our responsive state. And the reason why I'm bringing you this information, because I have been there, and I want to with my experience, and this is not experience that is book knowledge or course knowledge or perhaps AI knowledge, it is a knowing that I'm sharing with you tonight. So many people believe that they want to change everything. I always wonder, everything? Really? How about, and that's what we're going to do, how about we start with just changing one thing? And here's what I want you to know and take away from tonight. That all you have to do is start with one thing, change one thing. And when you change that one thing, you're creating the domino effect. This one domino will affect the collapse of all other dominoes. You start with the one thing, and in a moment, you will know what that one thing is that you need to get started with. You need to get clarity as to what it is that you need to change, but definitely it's not all of those things. So here's what I'm going to share with you tonight. I'm going to talk to you about the problem that being in a reactive state brings. I hope I didn't click this person out. Oh, well. I'm going to discuss tonight the problem with being in a reactive state instead of being in the responsive state. I tell you why it's a problem and why it's important for you to fix this. And by the way, I also want to share with you in a moment a few ways that you can find solutions and fix the issues that keep you where you are when really you want to be somewhere completely different already. So let me allow these people to come in. All right. So furthermore, I am going to then give you some data points, and then I'm going to share with you some incredibly powerful techniques, some strategies that you can start employing immediately that will help you to take you from the frenzy to the flourishing state. I've tried them all myself. I can guarantee you they are amazing. Whoever is not muted, would you kindly mute yourself? I would appreciate that. I will see if I can hear. I will mute you. Thank you. All right. So let's get started then, shall we? So the problem that most smart people make is they keep making the same mistakes. And I always do this because it is like a merry-go-round. You're starting out strong. You're starting out, yes, I can do this. Total motivation. And you know that you're not lazy. You know that you're very disciplined. And you know that you can do it. Now you start out strong and suddenly something triggers you. Something gets you off course and the whole thing collapses. It could be something stressful at work. It could be someone that cut you off in traffic. You don't know what triggered you, but you are certainly going to suffer from it because it takes you absolutely off course. And here's what's really happening when that happens. High achievers create this pattern, starting out strong and falling apart. They don't know what gets them into being scattered all over the place, which is you're scattered, you're all over the place, you're not focused, you're not strong, you're not coming from your resourceful inner states. And that's usually the image. Boom, you're everywhere. What's really happening is that you are experiencing a moment of being emotionally hijacked. You're not trying to create this thing that you had in mind, this thing that you wanted to create, you were so motivated about. You're not doing it out of your resourceful state, but you're doing it from a place in stress. Perhaps you are motivated by fear because you're going away from something that is uncomfortable and you're believing that being in the other place is a better place to be. In any event, you're using an operating system that is not going to bring you the results you are seeking because you are working on with the system number one of your operating system, your brain's operating system. That is the part, the limbic system, which is here, where also the amygdala is housed. Now, this limbic system is developed when you're about 6 months old. Its intention and its purpose is to keep you out of trouble, to keep you safe, which, by the way, is also your unconscious. The purpose of your unconscious mind is to keep you safe and protected, which means keep you where they believe that you are comfortable, protected, and safe. That doesn't mean, though, that you are safe. It is a belief. Now, the amygdala is your alarm system that triggers your fight, flight, freeze, or fawn reaction. You react emotionally. When this is in operation, the prefrontal cortex and the parasympathetic nervous system cannot operate. It's either one or the other. And you may be aware of children who suffer from, they are told that they have learning disabilities, that they don't learn easily. And a lot of those children are from homes where there is, certain abusive situations, uncomfortable, where they're in frightful circumstance and living in frightful circumstance, which means that they're constantly in this alarm state, in this totally vigilant state where they always expect something to go wrong, which shuts their prefrontal cortex down, which is the thinking part, the cognitive part. That's why many of them suffer from poor grades. They're operating from here. And that tells you when you operate out of that system, you're not performing at your best level either. The way it works is that the more you react, the more you are conditioning your alarm system. The more you are hypersensitive, the more danger you see. So instead of seeing this small little fire over here, you're creating this massive forest fire. And the more you're doing that, the more your alarm system is operative, is vigilant, and all you're seeing is danger, threat, and you respond that way. Now, what happens is that the brain doesn't know the difference between real or perceived threats. So as you're constantly sending your firefighters out there fighting real or false fires, what happens? They're getting fatigued. They're also becoming less and less motivated when the fire is this big and they're preparing for this kind of a situation. It is a form of sabotage, and they are coming out of this in low states, depressed states, low moods, low energy, fatigue, exhaustion. And that's what you experience when you're constantly running on the hypervigilant limbic system, the system number one. The problem with it is it's a very simple thing. It is fast, automatic, and emotional. But just because it is automatic does not mean that you don't have a choice. System number two is prefrontal cortex, parasympathetic. The rest and relax, take a moment to breathe and better response. And it is within this moment that you have a choice. As you are being triggered, the stimulus and the response or reaction, there is a space. And that space is where you can choose your response. And in that response lies either growth and freedom or being chained to your reactive system. But the choice is yours. Here's the problem. Most people are unaware what system they're operating from. Viktor Frankl, by the way, was a Holocaust survivor, and this is what he observed while he was in the concentration camp in Auschwitz. The hidden cost of operating from system number one is that you're starting strong and you're falling behind. It is also, as you're setting up this repeat pattern, you're creating limiting beliefs. Before the belief, there had to be a thought, but that's for another workshop and for perhaps what I'm going to offer you in a moment. Now, here's a story of a gentleman that was my client. And within, I would say, probably 10 hours, we changed his story. Dean started out with being gung-ho on a Monday, probably prepped himself up on a Sunday saying, yes, tomorrow I'm going to start my diet. The diet was not only the diet, but it also meant that he was in a completely different frame of mind, and he would start being more positive about his business, but the diet was his main concern. So he started with the diet on Monday and really totally motivated. Here's the thing though. On Tuesday, if he failed, or later on Monday, if he went off his regimen, guess what? It was over for the week. And then either Monday afternoon or Tuesday, he then said, oh, forget about it. And he would stuff his face all week long, feel terrible by Saturday, by Sunday, get back into that almost forced motivation and get himself back into state to start on Monday, only to self-sabotage, to punish himself on Tuesday. I worked with him by using the timeline therapy. And as I said, within 8 or 10 hours, we softened, loosened the grip of this pattern, and so much revealed itself that had to do with anger, with sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt. And when we release those things, let me tell you, what a changed person, and that pattern broke. The real cost of limiting decisions and leading to beliefs is that you are fortifying by repeating and repeating, to creating our neural pathways in your brain. But these are not the neural pathways that you want. These are the habits that you don't want, your bad habits, the poor behavior, but you keep doing it. And every time you fail, it gets worse. So that's the real cost. Why is it a problem? Because if that's not enough for you, the problem is that you start to become paralyzed, stuck, and the more stuck you become, and I hope you're getting this, the more stuck you become, the deeper into that darkness of that room that I talked about in the beginning, the deeper you go into that darkness, the harder it is for you to climb your way out of it. And so the problem becomes a bigger problem and a bigger problem, and you're defeating yourself more and more. So what I want you to do now is I want you to experience this. I don't want you to just listen to me as I'm talking to you, but I want you to experience going into a reactive state. So please, if you're driving or operating heavy machinery, please don't do this. I can't see you, that's why I don't know. So if that's not the case, go ahead and first of all, shake it out. Now close your eyes, breathe in deeply. And what I'd like you to imagine is seeing a screen in front of you, eyes closed, see a screen in front of you, and see yourself on that screen at a time when you were in a state of high anxiety, panic, fear, frustration, anger, not a trauma, please. So allow that image to come up. Go to any time that you felt that way. And now what I want you to do is pay attention to what you see. See what you see. What are the colors? Are they bright or dull? Is the image blurry or focused? Is it bright or dark and dim? Is it far or near? Is it moving or still? So get a good impression of what it is that you're seeing. Now hear what you hear. what are those sounds like? In case if you don't hear anything, that's fine. If you do, what's the tone? What's the speed? Is it uplifting or dull and down? And now feel the feeling. What is the feeling like? Where is it coming from? Where do you feel it in your body? What is that feeling like? So just get a good sense. And now what I want you to do is imagine you float into that you on the screen and you become the one. Now see through your own eyes, hear through your ears, and feel what you feel. Now pay attention to your physiology, the way you stand, the way you hold your shoulders, your head, your facial expression, the color of your face, your muscles, and feel that feeling. I just want you to observe it. And now step back out and come back into the room, shake it off, and open your eyes. Now, I'd like you to just register this. What did you feel on a scale of 1 to 10? How frustrated, angry, or anxious, nervous were you? 1, of course, being the lowest, 10 the highest, just as, a notation. All right. So now that you have experienced this, let's go on to when you start getting paralyzed by overwhelm. When you get paralyzed by overwhelm, what are you really doing? You're fighting yourself, like Dean did. You are punishing yourself. You are not your best coach. You're not your best cheerleader. You're frozen in overwhelm, in panic and fear. And when you allow fear, doubt, and stress, anxiety to enter, whatever motivation you may have had, it's out the window. It wins. You start out strong, but you fall off because you can't stay consistent. There's a reason why you can't stay consistent. It is not only because you're working from a reactive state, but it is also because there are other elements that are not in alignment. The reactive state, clearly. The parasympathetic and the sympathetic system, absolutely. And there's more. There's always more. It's a problem when you're stuck because you constantly fight yourself. And when you're stuck, it's like when you find yourself, I remember the movies in Alabama, in the mud in Alabama. You spin your wheels, you spin your wheels, you spin your wheels. And at a certain point, you stop spinning your wheels because you have no more energy. When you are left with no more energy, you're not only stuck, you're now becoming closed. You no longer see that there is a way out. That's why it becomes an even bigger problem, because you become hopeless and helpless. And that is a learned thing. That is not something that is given to you by nature because of what is happening to you. The problem gets worse because, as I just said, you can't stay consistent. Why is it critical to solve this? Well, I don't know about you, but it's really not a comfortable place. Perhaps, and very clearly, your sympathetic and your limbic system, they believe that being where you are is where you're safe. You are, although the place that you're in is uncomfortable, it rather keeps you there because it believes you're safe. And you'd rather stay where you know the pain, you know what you know, and you know the pain of this discomfort, and you'd rather not venture out. And perhaps there may be bigger pain or greater problems, but it also completely closes you off to any possibility and potential. That's why it is so critical to solve this. And when you're stuck, guess what? You're stuck, you're not going anywhere. And being someone who is seeking to have more, this is not where you want to be. What happens instead? Here's what I'd like you to do. Okay, let's do the same thing, but different. It's always different, isn't it? So again, if you're driving or if you are operating machinery, please don't do this. Now, what I'd like you to do is close your eyes and imagine a screen in front of you again. But now, what I want you to do is either remember a time when you were absolutely ecstatic, enthusiastic, happy, confident, successful, absolutely at the top of your game, or imagine it, whatever, it doesn't matter. So now allow that image to come up. Now what I'd like you to do is see what you see. What are the colors like? Are they bright or dim? Is the image focused or blurry? Is it near or far? Is it big or small? Is it moving or is it still? And now pay attention to the sounds, if you hear any. What are the sounds like? Are they uplifting? Are they encouraging? Are they harmonious? And then pay attention to the feeling. Now, what I'd like you to do is pay attention to where it's coming from and where you feel it in your body. Now, like we did before, float into that image of you on the screen and see through your eyes, hear through your own ears, and feel what you feel. And now, double that feeling. Double the feeling, make the colors brighter, make the sounds more amazing, and kick up that good feeling. And now really allow that to spread through your body. And now step on back out. That's what happens when you are in a responsive state and work with what's possible, with that inner potential, that inner resourceful state, and you are in charge of it. You control it. You just don't know how to do that yet. So let's go there in a moment. Foundation factor is the ability to respond instead of reacting. That's a huge one. As I said earlier, most people don't know that there are two different systems. They're unaware which one they're operating from most of the time. Now, just to be clear, your stress response serves a purpose. Your fear serves a purpose, and that purpose is to keep you safe. But what I am addressing is when it is an abuse of that system. In other words, you are 24/7 in this, or almost 24, in this reactive state. That's when it becomes detrimental to your health and well-being. Why does this change everything? Because what happens is when you operate out of your parasympathetic and your prefrontal cortex, the response, then it ends your inconsistency. You can catch yourself before you react and choose a different way. Here's one way that I'm already sharing with you. Here's what you can do. Quickly close your eyes, because that interrupts the pattern. It cuts this, all right? And you say to yourself, start breathing. I'll show you in a moment how. Release, release, release. You're releasing the tension. When you feel calm, you set an intention. You're taking it back. This can go very quickly, especially once you practice this all the time when you're not in a uncomfortable, very stressful situation. It breaks the paralysis. That's right. When you're not working out of the reactive state, the overwhelm dissolves. You're no longer fearing the fear. You're no longer uncomfortable being uncomfortable. You know that there is an end in sight and that you have to go often through the discomfort to get to your comfort. Avoidance brings paralysis, brings more fear. So you've got to walk through it and be uncomfortable, be comfortable being uncomfortable. It makes every change possible when you respond from that higher state, from your internal resources. You're stronger, you're more empowered, and you are from a cognitive state. You stop self-sabotaging and punishing you, and it changes everything in your personal life, in your health and well-being, and in your career, in every aspect. The personal truth is that when you're in the reactive state, you're also operating out of the victim state. It happens to you. Everything is out there. Remember, I said that in the beginning, everything is out there. But in reality, it's really in here where it is happening. You're blaming external conditions, external triggers. But in reality, it's an inside job. The personal truth is, when you understand that, you become the creator of your life. You are empowered. So, what really is changing is you. That's right. It's you. You learn to manage your state, your abilities and capabilities, as well as your perspective. The little exercise that we did, that helps you to change your perspective. That's a huge thing to do. Your ability to respond is the foundation of your leadership effectiveness, relationship quality, career trajectory, personal fulfillment, and health and well-being. Well, I think it's worthy of your consideration, don't you think? I hope this makes sense to you. All right, let me give you some data points as I promised. We'll go through this quickly to keep us on time. Talent, smart, the self-regulation advantage. Now, the key thing to this is that you may think that people are born with this self-regulation. It's a learned skill. You can learn it. The advantage is that 90% of top performers have this emotional quality because they have understood that it will help them. In this new era of AI, when you build on your emotional intelligence, your EQ, AI cannot affect you in these areas because AI cannot have emotional intelligence. So therefore, you will excel. You will excel. What this means to you is that it's not about you having this natural ability, but that you're understanding that you can learn this skill. And 90% of top performers have done so, which tells you what? It leads to higher elevations in your professional life. The pause that pays. Now, I've spoken about that pause, and it is huge. The pause where you take control. I'm sure you've been there many times when afterwards you wish you had just shut your mouth and not said anything, where you had just walked away from something, taken a deep breath, and come back. So that's what the pause is. 5 seconds, even 5 seconds to recollect. I've done that with my youngest client who needed a moment to calm himself down before a game. when he collected himself, he was in a power mode. And the game was like it was flowing through him. He needed to take a moment to access that pause. Now, this is, they found, which I don't think I've written down here, that 1,400 managers, they've tracked 1,400 managers and found that leaders who consistently pause before responding are 23% more effective in conflict resolution and receive 18% higher ratings from their teams. That's huge. The self-awareness premium, according to this research, is that people, professionals who have a strong sense of self-awareness, can earn an average of $29,000 more per year. They also report that there is a 67% higher job satisfaction rate, and 79% are more likely to receive promotions within 18 months. And again, you feel better, you do better, and it's a learned skill. So people who learn to not be triggered, to learn to control themselves and understand that they have a choice, they feel better, they perform better, they're more successful, they earn more, they advance faster, and they lead better and more successful lives, and even their diets work better. Imagine that. Here's why it matters to you. Maybe, as I said, you have tried many things before and they didn't work yet. And I'm adding that yet because we always can improve things. The way you improve things here is because you did not understand which operating system you were working from. See sub problems that may keep you stuck. Let's get to it. Emotional hijacking. That's when your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, shuts down the prefrontal cortex. Now, I've addressed this, but let me show you what that does to you. This is what that does. There is a seesaw. There's always the seesaw. When you are in your sympathetic limbic system, amygdala, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn system, this is on superdrive. So you're up there while your parasympathetic system is down here. What that means is, and you will feel this in your body, if it is a chronic situation, it affects your immune system, digestion, reproduction, and thyroid. The symptoms, allergies, infection, irritable bowel syndrome, PMS, thyroid disorders. And there's more. Chronic fatigue, chronic pain, anxiety, insomnia, heart, lungs, and metabolism. That's that picture when you're in this constant imbalance between the sympathetic and parasympathetic system. Here's the other one, and this one is just as big. Same imbalance. When you are operating out of fear and anxiety, you overestimate dangers and threats. And at the same time, you underestimate your most valuable resources, your internal resources. Here's what that looks like. Let me take my own example. There was a time that I felt really uncomfortable going to network events. Now, as I started to think about it, see, there's the thought, I started to think about it, and I started to feel this anxiety coming up. It was uncomfortable, and I chose to avoid the networking. It gave me immediate relief. But what it really did, every time I avoided it, it made the problem bigger and bigger, the danger and the threat bigger and bigger. And it made me underestimate my inner resources. So it made the problem bigger and bigger. And the short period of relief that I had was nothing in comparison what it did, because this affects everything else. Make no mistake. Trigger blindness. You don't know what's triggering you. You can't figure it out what's triggering you. Those are your not only your triggers, but your blind spots, the shadows. You can't see what you can't see being in that dark place, in that stuck place. And if you don't know, you can't change it either. The recovery lag is when you're staying in this reactive state, in this chronic stress state. You're depleting your resources. You are therefore more vulnerable to being triggered again, and you recover slower and slower because you don't have the energy, the hormones, the chemicals to help you recover. So you are really working from every end against yourself. That's why it takes you even longer to recover. Here's what ties it all together. When you're running on an outdated hardware, it will crash when you put new hardware in. It's the same thing when you have an old phone and they're sending you the updates. There comes a point that you will not be able to do it because they are not aligned. I'm coming back to that word because it's huge. So let me show you some techniques. Technique number 1 is stop. An acronym for S, stop, take a breath, observe what you're feeling, proceed with intention. The release, tension, and set intention sort of follows these parameters. So here we are. As you feel this coming on, you know what's happening. You know that increased heart rate, that closing down of your chest, the tension in your shoulders, in your back, the freeze. So I'm inviting you to start paying attention to that and then learn to just stop it. Don't do anything. Don't talk. Don't act. Just pause. And here comes the breath. Take a conscious breath through your nose. Inhale to a count of 4. Hold to a count of 2. And exhale through the mouth to a count of 7. Now, if you can make a sound as you exhale, like, that helps because that activates your parasympathetic system even faster. So do this until you feel relief. Then observe what you're experiencing. Ask yourself, I'm feeling defensive right now because I'm trying to help you to find the trigger. I'm noticing some anger because I'm feeling dismissed, because ask yourself, but make no judgment, no censorship, no punishing. Proceed with intention. Given what I really want, what's my best response? What would you rather experience? How would you rather show up? How would you rather control the moment? Really important. And here is the practice. Do this while you're not stressed, anxious, or being triggered by something. Do it a couple of times, a few times throughout the day, so that becomes quick. You're accessing this state quick so that you are in the moment, you can go there. Second one ties right in here, and we've started to do it already. So what I invite you to do is that you can take this a step further by, as you are doing the relaxing breath, that you're also visualizing being in a happier, more resourceful state, more successful. Allow that image to come up. All right, allow that image to embellish it as I had shown you earlier. So make it bigger, brighter, more beautiful. The sounds better, the feeling even better. Step into it. Now, as you stepped into it, kick up the feeling, kick up the feeling, kick up the feeling. When you're at the top of it, you can anchor that feeling into your unconscious mind. Here's what I recommend that you do. You can either take a power pose when you're at the height of it, or you can anchor it, the dominant hand, take 2 fingers of the dominant hand and the index knuckle of your non-dominant hand. As you're at the height of this good feeling, tap the knuckle and take it off. Kick up the feeling again. When you're again at the height, tap it again. Do this 5 times and take it off quickly. Every time, take it off quickly. 5 times. After the 5th time, you just imagine you lock it. And then you step out of it. You've anchored this into your unconscious. You do need to repeat this and repeat this. You notice when people, performers, they have that power pose. Athletes, they go like this. What do you think they're doing? They've anchored that positive, empowered state, the peak performance state, here or whatever it is they're doing. That's what they're doing. So do that. The encouragement part is for you to understand that, number one, you're not broken. And I've said this. You have made some choices along the route because of circumstances, and you've created habits that you were unaware of. Now you are here because you're seeking awareness. You are seeking to make a change in yourself. So start by observing and lifting yourself up. I gave you 2 techniques. Third one that I recommend is observe the words you use to speak to yourself. Very often we use language we would not use for anyone else. Treat yourself the same way. Also pay attention to words like, I must do this, I've got to do that, I have no choice. Turn it around. I want to do that. I am doing it. I have a choice and I choose that. That's how you start supporting the positive internal reference points and you start seeing a difference. You can't see growth immediately. You can't see it because you're in it. On top of that, when you're in the dark, remember, it's dark, you can't see it. You're alone and you're lost. It is available to you though. It's never an overnight transformation. And I also like to point out, it's not like taking a magic pill, popping the magic pill. Yes, you'll have to do some work on yourself because you want to do this work, because you want to be in that successful, enlightened, uplifted, happy, successful state, instead of in that dark place where you're crawling yourself out of. You want to access of what's already within you. And here's the thing. If you don't pay attention, you pay with pain. I've experienced this myself. I did not pay attention to that inner voice. Things were not going so well, and I chose not to pay attention. I said, never mind. Nope. Thank you. Nope. And things crumbled a little bit more, got a little bit darker, and there was pain, whether it's your career or your personal life, whatever it is. And I said, no, death. And I paid with pain. The pain is not necessarily physical pain. It can be emotional pain. It can be mental pain. It can be financial pain. It can be career pain. There are lots of pains, but when you don't pay attention, you pay with pain. But that pain led me to where I am today, which led me to be here in this moment with you. That pain led me to write my first book, which opened a whole Pandora's box of saying, what now? I looked in that mirror and said, there's got to be more. So I started my journey to become a life coach. Then I wrote my second book, Your GPS to Happiness. And that led me to clinical hypnotherapy, master practitioner of NLP, master practitioner of positive psychology, and of timeline therapy. I'm adding currently another modality to that, which is psychosomatic dynamics, the connection between your body and mind and how it affects your health and well-being. Now, I have gone this route, as I had explained, because I found myself in this darkness, and it is in this darkness that I found the light that led me here. And that is what has become my purpose. And yet I too have been, even as I saw it, we're always growing, I still felt that there were things that were off. And guess what? They sure were. My values were off. I had some of these things that really need to be aligned were off. And I found out because I was looking and seeking answers. I chose to take these courses not only to learn more, but also to experience it myself. Because I wouldn't be here if I was perfect. No one is. And therefore, I experienced breakthroughs myself. I experienced being lost and feeling all alone. And then I had the answers. So, yes, you could absolutely do everything that I'm about to offer you all yourself. It will take you forever. However, there's the one thing that I know from personal experience that you can't do. You can't see your blind spots because they're not called blind spots for nothing. You can't see your shadows, and you don't know anything about your black bags that you have suppressed and pushed down and pushed down. And they're there, and they bother you, and they become heavier and heavier, and they pull you down. And it's very difficult for you to loosen the grip of your unconscious, to loosen that grip so that you can release it and find freedom. Smart people work with coaches. I work with coaches, and I know they work with coaches, and their coaches work with coaches, because they know you get there faster and farther with a coach. The truth is, as I said, you can't see your blind spots, you can't see your shadows, and you can't hear yourself talk either. You don't know what language you're using, and is it reactive or responsive? Is it positive or negative? It's important because you want to grow. You wouldn't still be here if you didn't want to become your highest self, your best self. And there is no limit to how high you can go. And the joy is in the journey when you know where to do it. There was a moment when you thought you wanted to change everything and you didn't know where to start. But here's the one thing that I know, that by now you know as well. The one thing that you need to change is you. It's changing you is like putting the horse in front of the cart, not behind the cart. The cart are all these external things that most people work on. They're staying in the victim modality. They're fighting all the fires that are out there. But the real power is here within you. And when you learn how to turn that and how to get to loosen the grip of all the memories, the things that you've pushed down and suppressed, that's when you are becoming resourceful. Personal mastery is where you start. Smart people know that they are the creators of their own lives. They know, as Viktor Frankl said, that they have, within that short moment, that little tiny moment, that they choose freedom and success. They can change and upgrade, and the world will follow suit because you go first. When I do my hypnotherapy and my coaching, I know I go first. I have to be there first so that I can guide you, which is why I did all the trainings. You master into your potential because that's where your power is. You're ready. You're here because you're ready to take yourself to the next level. You're ready to let go of inconsistencies. And it's not by coincidence or happenstance that you are here, but rather by divine guidance. I know my last course, I jumped on it, I saw it, and I went, yes, that's the place where I need to be and what I want to do. And perhaps you've heard that nothing changes when nothing changes, if nothing changes. And I don't agree with it at all, because here's the thing that I've learned. The difference is everything changes, but the difference is either it is by default or by design. You choose which one. You have a choice. You can repeat and repeat, or you evolve. I see there's a question in the chat. I will answer in a moment. You can repeat or evolve. The repeating is what keeps you stuck and stuck and stuck. Some people choose the pain they know over the possibilities that lie ahead. There will be pain too, but growing pain. They choose to be the victim. They're waiting for someone to come in and rescue them. And they wonder if it's going to work. And then there's the other one, evolving, where they say, I am in control. I am the creator of my life. I am flexible. I see possibilities. I am a possibilitarian. And you ask yourself, but what if it does work? Wow. How do you get where you want to be? Well, you start with your regulating your nervous system, understanding your nervous system, understanding how you can address it better, how you can redefine yourself and regulate it. Then you work on values, on your purpose, on meaning. And we're going to do that. And lastly, you will attract the vibration that you are emitting. Don't you know that? Isn't that the best? When the person that you are becoming, that positive light, that lightheartedness, that's what's coming back into your life. It's an easy decision. And here's what I got for you. I know you were waiting for this until I go, yes, there's your offer. And I've got your offer. First of all, what I offer you is for free is you get my free recording from Chaos to Calm. I created it because one of my clients, she was just exhausted from being exhausted in this constant chaos and chaotic state. Now I'm giving it to you. And of course, there's a bribe that is part of that. You knew it was coming, and here it is. So here is your bonus in return of, but there's more. You get my new book, which is an ebook, Wellness Without Worry. And I wrote it to help you to get out of the physical and the mental not being well, that place that holds you down. Because when we're there, it makes it so much harder to get into that positive state. That's why I wrote it, and it will be free. It will be yours when, and I'm giving these to you because I want you to become the person you're meant to be. I've done it for myself, and I love every moment of it. I want you to change your internal representations, your inner world, see more choices, more opportunities, change your language from I can't, it's hard to, yes, it's possible, I can do this. You're here for a reason, because there is that voice in you that is already calling and knocking and saying, hello, there is more in your life. You can do this, and you can choose to do it now or later. You can choose if you want to repeat or evolve, or if you want to keep doing and spinning out of control. You're here to hear more. That's right. And here's what I've got for you. I have a new empowering program, which is my high performance group membership program. We're going to meet starting next week, 2 hours every Wednesday at 7 p.m. And it's $97 per month. So you're getting 2 hours per week, and we're starting with, first of all, I'm going to help you to start regulating your nervous system. Number one. You can also have a single standing session to give you immediate relief. Then I have a variety of programs, a 3-month coaching program. I have a 30-day to your personal breakthrough, and a 1-day, that's on Saturdays, where we carve out 8 to 10 hours exclusively for you, where I help you to break through in 1 day. Yes, it's possible. I've done it. And then there are my regular positive psychology timelines. Some people want to stay longer with me than just 3 months, and they stay on. I'm working on creating a mastermind group and a continuation program, but that is in the works. Right now, I find that this is pretty much enough. I have worked with athletes, with speakers, entrepreneurs, lawyers, coaches, professionals. And the reason why I'm offering the $97 program is because I want you to get started now. Now, yes, there's always a cost associated with upgrading, with getting a better phone, a new phone. And it's never free, but when you look at it and how much faster you get where you're going to, is it not worth it? Ask yourself. Is it better to stay stuck in your problem, forever spinning, not getting that raise, not getting a career change, and not improving your health, and not getting a better relationship? That is naturally up to you. So here is how you can do this. I invite you to take me up on meeting with me for a free personal growth session by going to this. I'm going to put it in the chat right now. And here's what you're going to do. Here it's in the chat. That's how you can contact me. Either you can send me an email, or you book your 40-minute free session. There are no strings attached. It's not a sales call in disguise. I will be asking you very concrete questions, and I will start helping you to loosen the tight grip that your reactive system has put around you. I highly, highly recommend that you get on this, that you book your call with me tonight, preferably tonight, because I tell you what will happen. Most people talk themselves out of it. Most people will say, you know what? It's good. I'll stay where I am. And then truly things do change, but they're not by design, but by default. And now I am turning off the recording.